Well, hello everyone. Today's episode is one that's been brewing with us for a while, partly because we've lived it and partly because so many people are quietly drowning in this same big digital ocean. So I tell you, I said ocean, but really what we're in, it's a storm.
And you said lived. We're living it.
A living. You're right. You're
We're
right. Definitely
living.
not past tense.
We are living with a storm of notifications,
Mm.
pings, dings, buzzes, banners, alerts, reminders, and that one app that insists on sending us helpful tips that we just never asked for.
I tell you, Teresa, so true. And listen, this happened just the other day. I was in the car. It was my turn to drive with my pickleball ladies. And so, well, I got a car last year. I should know how to do all the things, but I don't yet. So my notification kept pinging. It will ping if I get a text. And the ladies were like, "What is that?" I said, "It's telling me I've got a text." And Teresa, you told me, Lou, won't you learn about your car? You need to learn, read, go on YouTube or something, right? They said, "Can you turn it off?" I said, "No, I can't." So it was pinging. So, it's constant. We're in the car trying to have girl talk and getting ready for a relaxing day. And you know what? That just kept going on. So, but today I digress. We're going to talk about what happens when we finally step out of the storm, or at least try to learn how to carry an umbrella as we navigate through this digital storm that we're in. So, most of you already know, I stepped away years ago from any type of paid position. And it wasn't an easy decision. It came with, the usual late night conversations that you have with yourself about money, purpose, identity, the whole existential buffet, but so I dealt with all of that, and that was it was a serious time. Even when you plan, it's a little scary when you actually do it. So, but what surprised me the most out of all of that wasn't the shift in the career or my day-to-day activities. It was actually, Teresa, it was the silence. The
What?
silence was just overwhelming because, for years, I'm telling you, for many years, I lived in a state of digital readiness. Teresa, you can relate to this. I had two phones which seemed to be attached to my body. My email was always open. My mind was always half occupied. I didn't really realize how much of my mental bandwidth was being eaten alive by the simple act of staying available 24/7, really pretty much 365 days a year. Because let's be honest, even if something jumped off on Christmas Day, if it was significant enough, I had to respond to it. It rarely happened, but that was my reality, and I'm really not exaggerating. So, to be honest, full disclosure, I'm confessing now before the Lord in this audience. I once took a policy brief to church, and I worked on it during service. Okay, that's a lie. It wasn't one time. I did that more than once. And
Oh my goodness.
that's not a good thing, but it happened.
Oh my goodness, Lou.
Yeah, yeah,
That's the part people don't talk about, right?
yeah.
We have normalized being reachable 24/7.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Except for now, we have a policy where you can't take your devices, your laptop and your phone out of the country.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I'm like you, I have two phones,
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
computer and an iPad.
Yep, 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 exactly.
We treat instant response as a personality trait, honestly.
Yeah,
We act like being overwhelmed is a badge of honor.
we do. And I read something the other day that said when former President Joe Biden, when he was elected vice president, he sent a memo to his staff, an email to the staff, and what he said was, listen, I want you, I don't want to ever hear about you missing important things with your family.
Oh,
I don't
wow.
want to hear about you missing, if your kid has a big event coming up, I don't want to hear that you didn't go. If someone has a big celebration, a graduation, a wedding, he said, I don't expect for you to miss that. He said, and in the memo, he said, and actually, I will be very disappointed if I hear that you are missing important family events because you were at work. Basically, he said, we're going to do our job, but I need you to be at your best. And part of being at your best is understanding that you have other commitments which are important to you, that matter to you. And I want you to honor those as well, you know? Because
Mhm.
Teresa, I mean, isn't that great that he did that?
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And I think some people say that and don't mean it.
Yeah, yeah, I've heard that too. I've heard
Yeah.
people say the nice words, and it was
Yes.
very
Yes.
obvious they did not mean it. They don't mean it. But you know what, Teresa? When I was doing all of that, I thought I was being, a bit of a badass. That I was really doing something, doing my job, and all of that. And what it was, I was really just really overstimulated at all
And
times.
boy, can I relate.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. You know, a lot of people can, but let's just talk facts for a moment, Teresa, because we don't want to just talk about vibes. We want to put some meat behind this. The average person checks their phone, Teresa, are you ready? 144 times a day. It's right. That's crazy. That's
I just don't think that's right. I'm gonna have to be mindful of that.
yeah, the average person. And then I thought when I saw that, I was like, hmm, wonder how many times people check TikTok. That's a whole nother thing. Constant
So,
notifications. Listen at this, Teresa. No, constant notifications trigger the same stress pathways as being in danger. Can you
oh
believe that?
my,
That's crazy.
that is
You get the
crazy.
same kind of reaction to these notifications as your body gets to, I'm in danger, danger. Isn't that something?
That's insane.
Yeah, and studies from the APA, American Psychological Association, show that digital overload increases anxiety, irritability, and it disrupts your sleep.
Mm,
And always being on keeps the brain in a low level fight or flight state. Isn't that
mm,
something?
that's crazy. So basically, our nervous systems are out here doing CrossFit while
CrossFit.
while we're just trying to read an email. And we wonder why we're so tired, you know?
We're exhausted. We're exhausted, Teresa.
All right, so let's get into the good stuff. The
Okay.
practical things people can do to calm the digital chaos. All right, I
Okay.
have a story about this one.
Okay. Okay.
So, first thing, turn off your non-essential notifications. Which ones are non-essential though, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, there's a
Yeah,
standard for that.
yeah.
So
So
listen,
if
if
if it's not your kid, your partner, or your boss, it probably doesn't need to interrupt your day.
yeah. Yeah.
So I tried this, Lou. I think we're going to talk about this one later too. I tried to turn off my notifications.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then that's when I found myself picking up my phones.
Oh, right.
You
Because
know what I mean?
then you're concerned about what you missed.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. And I ended up turning them back on.
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
right. So, number two, Lou, we can create those check-in windows. So instead of checking email 47 times, pick two or three windows. Your brain will thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. And Teresa, I tell you, this is one I actually do use. I put on Do Not Disturb, you
Mhm.
know? And folks, we need to learn that it's not rude to do that. It's healthy. And you know what? They put that into your phone for a reason. That's for you to use it. Yeah.
Lou, my phone automatically goes into Do Not Disturb at 9 p.m.
Really?
and it
Okay.
remains there until 6 a.m.
Okay. Okay. That's
It might
good.
be 7. It might even be from 9 to 7.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I do have with my phone, I can put some folks on a list that would allow them to ring through, like my
Okay.
daughter, because she's out of
Yeah.
town, and
Yeah.
my mother.
Okay.
So, but yeah.
Yeah.
All right, here's another one. This is a good one. Keep your phone out of reach during rest.
That's what you were talking about. Yeah.
Bedrooms are for sleeping, not doom scrolling.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
see, that's, I'm gonna full disclosure, I keep mine on the nightstand, and that's bad. But I'm gonna tell you, when I go to sleep, I don't hear a thing. I don't. But I
I
keep
know.
it there in case there's an emergency or something.
Mhm.
But this is the other one. Unfollow accounts that drain you. You know, you take a minute to look through that. You know, who are you connected to? And you know, what businesses and even people. You need to try to go through your list and maybe delete some folks, mute people who stress you out. You're not obligated to consume everything, every little message that comes to you.
That's right. So you do know that multitasking is a myth.
It is such a myth. And Teresa, we've been sold that myth. We have
Yeah,
been sold that.
yeah.
Yeah.
So practice single tasking.
Hmm.
Neuroscience says we just switch tasks badly and stress
Yeah.
ourselves out. So
Yeah.
yeah, that is true. So one
Yeah.
thing, I'm going to go back to the notifications. I can be busy writing something, and then that pop-up message comes up on the screen, and now my attention has gone to
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
It is I'm writing. I can't remember what I was writing.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That's so true. You know, that I had to learn multitasking is a myth. But you know what, Teresa? This is actually something I do practice.
Okay.
I schedule silence.
Oh, do you?
I do actual silence. No music, no podcasts, no strolling, no scrolling, just quiet time. And you know what? People may think it's weird, but I am telling you, when I worked in the past very demanding jobs, I would have weekends where I would just schedule some quiet time. And I believe to this day, many times that saved my sanity.
Oh
So
yeah, I
I
believe
don't
that
do it
too.
as much now, but I do try to be aware of my need for just silence, just nothing. Don't fill it in with anything. Yeah.
Well, I can tell you today, when I went for my walk this morning, I did not wear a headset, okay? So I just walked in silence. And
Hmm.
when I tell you nature, I just realized and could hear the birds. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
actually speak to the people who I was passing. It was quite a treat. All right. Now, then the last one, Lou. Ask yourself, is this urgent or just loud? Most things are just loud.
Yeah. Yeah.
Very few things are urgent.
Yeah. That's, and you know what? It really takes you being very, very deliberate to discern the difference because now everything's an emergency. Everything has to be immediately responded to. And so we do have to sit back and do a better job of assessing, is that something I have to deal with? We got to step back. We don't need to solve everything. You know, what I think about now, yeah, I still think about the money. I still think about my health. And I still have days when the digital noise will creep back in, you know. But now, thankfully, I notice it. I can reset it before I start feeling overwhelmed. And I can make a decision to choose presence over pressure and stress.
And Lou, that's the real win. Not perfection, but awareness.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. The because Teresa, sadly, the digital world with all of its positives, and we talk about some of the negatives, but the reality is it's not going anywhere. But then neither are we. And so we are going to have to figure out a way to live in it without losing ourselves.
That is so true, Lou. And hearing about how much it's affecting our nervous systems
Hmm.
should be that impetus for us to get it under control.
Oh, yeah. Well, that, Teresa, and it's just like anything else. Teresa and I, we interviewed a guest earlier who talked about what we learned growing up, and much of what we learned was learned during our developmental years. We have got to do a better job role modeling for our children and
That's right.
letting them see us place some limits so they then will be able to do that for their own sanity.
That's right, Lou.
Yeah.
If you're listening and feeling stretched thin, just know this. You're not failing.
Mm-mm.
You're just overloaded.
And overload is something you can change. One small boundary at a time.
So we hope today's conversation gives you permission to slow down, breathe deeper, and reclaim a little peace.
Take care of yourselves out there. The world is loud, but you don't have to be. Take good care.